Today on Sports Central, we give our next team projection of this offseason, and it's going to be over the Maryland Terrapins, a team that finished out at 2-3 in the 2020 season. This team really did not have very much of a 2020 season, as this team only was able to play 5 games overall due to COVID and everything like that. But for Maryland, this is certainly a team that's got a lot of potential going into 2021, and that's what we're going over here today. We're also going to be going over a few players that the Terps will be losing, who they were returning, and also looking at their schedule for the first time this offseason. Starting out with your schedule for last season, of course, we saw 5 games only for Maryland last year. They lost to Northwestern to start off the season on October 24th. 3-43 was the final score there, so not a very fun game for Maryland for sure to start off your season. But they did beat Minnesota the next week, 45-44. They beat Penn State 35-19. Did lose to Indiana 11-27, and that was before losing to Rutgers to finish out their season. 24-27 was your final score there. So overall, once again, I mean, there's not a lot to measure this past season for Maryland. Like, this team only played 5 games, so I mean, there's not a lot to say here. But the first 2 games, they were 1-1. As for the last 3, they were 1-2. So Maryland certainly, I think, is a team that has a lot of potential moving forward, and that's very demonstrated by their returning production. This team does return their starting quarterback, Talia Tagovailoa, which, of course, he's the brother of Tua. So he's got a big name there for sure. I mean, he did put up some promising moments in the 2020 season. I mean, his stats were not great, but he's still a very young quarterback that's got a ton of potential. Like, if you look at his brother, I mean, Tua, he went into the NFL. He's a Miami Dolphin right now, and he's certainly had a good career so far. So if you look at Talia here, like, he's got a lot of potential because of that, for one, but for two, he's still very young. Like, if you look at his stats in 2020, put up just over 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 61% completion rate as well. So his stats were not great, especially the touchdown to interception ratio. That's definitely something that could be fixed, which is fixed for any quarterback like him. But if you look at this Maryland team in general, like, I mean, yeah, he's got potential. He's still a very young quarterback for sure, and this was still just a crazy 2020 season, so there's not a lot to measure this season by. But anyway, they do lose their top running back in Jake Funk. That's going to be a tough loss there. He's one of the better players on this offense, putting up just right around 600 yards and 4 touchdowns, which that is actually very impressive through only 5 games, 5 conference games for that matter. So he could have had a great season if we saw a normal 12-game season for this team. But overall, yeah, Jake Funk was a great player, and he's not going to be around for next season, however. As for the receiving core, everything looks great. They returned their top receiver, Dante Demas. If you look at him, he put up just over 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. Brian Cobbs is also coming back. Same thing with Jashon Cobbs. Both of them are both coming back. And then, of course, you return, so you got Raheem Jarrett as well. Don't forget about him. He was your second receiver last season. So all 4 of these wide receivers, I mean, especially if you look at the 3rd and 4th receivers with the Cobbs brothers, both of them, they just put up right around 200 yards, which, I mean, those aren't outstanding stats, but still, I mean, for this Maryland team, this is still a team that is kind of in rebuilding mode right now. And I really think with as young of a team that this was last season and how much they're returning going into next year in 2021, this team has got potential a lot in the skilled players position for sure. But on the offensive line, they lose 1 on there. They lose 1 defensive lineman, 1 linebacker, and 1 defensive back. So great returning production overall. This team has got a ton of potential moving forward, a ton of upside, mainly because of how much they're returning. Are the Terrapins a dark horse in 2021 is a big question. Of course, with Talia Tagovailoa at a quarterback, a lot of people are saying, oh, Maryland could be a 6-7 win team, which that's reasonable. I mean, this team has got potential to be definitely a bowl team next season, especially if their quarterback can improve. And if you look at this team in general, if they can get a good running back to replace Jake Funk in there, this team definitely has got a ton of potential all around on this offensive side, but also on the defensive side. This team loses 3 overall starters from 2020 to 2021. So this team definitely has got a ton of potential there, but chances of a bowl appearance, I'd say, are more likely than none. But it is still a tough Big Ten conference. That's going to be the biggest difficulty there for Maryland, is having to go against the Big Ten conference. Looking at your schedule, you start off the season against West Virginia then on September 4th. You got Howard then to follow up on that game. You got Illinois on the road on September 18th. You got Kent State to follow that. You got Iowa then on October 2nd to kick off your October. You got Ohio State on October 9th. Minnesota and Indiana to follow. Both of those games are at home. You got Penn State also at home to start off your November. Michigan State on the road on November 13th. You got Michigan then at home in your second to last game. And in the final game of the season, you got Rutgers on the road. So overall, this is kind of a tough schedule here. I mean, if you look at your non-conference games, West Virginia is probably your toughest one, which, I mean, they're not even that incredible of a team. So really the non-conference games, I think, are all winnable for Maryland. But if you look at it otherwise, I mean, you got to play Iowa, which Iowa's going to be really good next season. I can expect some big things out of them. Ohio State, then you got them on the road, which that's going to be a tough game. And then you got Indiana, of course. They're also going to be great. Penn State could be improved. You got Michigan State on the road, Michigan. So it could be a tougher schedule for Maryland. But anyway, looking at the first half of your schedule here, here's what I'm expecting. I think West Virginia, that's going to be a close matchup. I'd probably favor Maryland right now just because of them being at home. But that could easily go either way. Howard, Illinois, Kent State are all going to be wins. So you're definitely going to start off the season at least with a 3-1 record, possibly even 4-0, which is, I mean, that's an outstanding record for Maryland. And this is a team that, considering their struggles in the past few years, that would be an outstanding start for Maryland if they can start at 3-1 at least. Iowa's going to be a tough game. I'm definitely favoring the Hawkeyes right now in that matchup, but I mean, I could still see Maryland keeping it close in that one. Ohio State, though, I hate to say it, but Ohio State, they're going to win that game. I mean, it's in Columbus. They're just always such a great team, and they've got a lot of returning production. So Ohio State's going to get the win there. As for the second half of your season, you kind of got a bye week in between there. You got Minnesota, Indiana, Penn State, Michigan State, Michigan. All 5 of those games are going to be close ones. I kind of want to say 50-50 on a few of those. Like Minnesota, that's a winnable game. But Indiana's going to be tough. I will say that right off the bat. Like Michael Penix and that team is looking outstanding. They're going to be a tough team to beat. Penn State, then that's going to be a close one. That's definitely winnable for Maryland as well. Michigan State's a winnable game. Michigan's a winnable game. I'm just mainly worried about Ohio State and Indiana. Both those games are going to be pretty tough. Also playing in East Lansing could be a tough matchup as well. But overall, I see some big potential in the Terrapins next season. Once again, with the returning production that this team has and really the leadership in general that they will have next season, this team has got potential to possibly, like, I don't think that they're going to get up to 9 wins. That's definitely the ceiling. That's the best of the best that the Terrapins can get up to this upcoming season. But your projection will be 7-5. So that's actually, I'd say, a pretty good record for Maryland next season at 7-5. That puts you just one game above the threshold to get to a bowl game. So Maryland, I do expect them to make it to a bowl game, no doubt, next season. This team has got a favorable schedule, especially early on, I'd say. I mean, this team could easily start out the season 4-0, which, if you're in that position, basically in your last 8 games, you only got to win 2 of your last 8 to get to a bowl game. So I really like Maryland's chances of making it to a bowl game next season. This team has got potential to do that. But as for the floor, this team does have a pretty low floor there at 4-8. This team has got a wide range of options that we could see for this team this upcoming season record-wise. Like, once again, I mean, if you look at the range here, it's basically 5 wins. You got your 9-3 ceiling there. That's the best of the best. And then you got 4-8, which is a pretty low floor in comparison to a 9-3 ceiling. So overall for Maryland, though, 7-5 is your projection for next season. But I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments below on the Terrapins. What record do you guys think this team will go to? Obviously, I just really like Tagovailoa. He's got a lot of potential, and really, I mean, looking at his brother, I mean, that's definitely a big thing for him. It runs in the family. But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I appreciate you guys all watching. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll see you guys all later.